Good evening, YouTube. So tonight I'm going to be presenting a more personal sculpture, a talisman that I made in the early pewter casting experiments that I did back in, I think it was like 2018, 2019 that I started working with the pewter. So here it is. The title of this piece is, it goes something like the talisman of protection against gossip of the dead. So this piece is about 5.5 inches tall, 4.5 to 4 inches at the base. And there's a longer description of this piece on my art channel. So this is a personal collage talisman that I did more for just the studio and myself. It is available, but it's somewhat contingent on who wants it in a way and their reason for wanting it. But it is a more of a personal piece, but I'm not afraid to give it a good home if I feel like it is such. So the urn at the top and the two skulls flanking it, the upside down skeleton, the feet, the toad, and the owl are all found objects. Most of those, except for the feet, were already pewter. So I embedded those in the wax sculpture and then made the mold and then cast everything in pewter. This is one pour, and it's 1-to-1 scale to the original. Again, no lost wax procedure here. So the skeleton's, the back of its head is touching the back of the owl's head. So two worlds meeting one another in a relationship. Or we might say that relationship just is. It's not like they have to go and schedule a meeting. The meeting is always occurring, one could say. So, per my usual, I'm going to go back to the large screen and then rise up and turn off the turntable. Thank you for coming to the channel and supporting. And I'll talk a little bit more about this piece when I come back here. Come back to the large screen. Okay, I'll be right back. So, a few things I want to talk about tonight. So I read a few comments on a short that I did around pro-Palestinian status and galleries, and how galleries tend to subscribe to a particular status quo and clientele and price ranges, and just a sort of a, well, let's say that art, at least in America, is in many regards paywalled in a way, and it's not a cultural phenomenon like sports or concerts, other various societal events and coordinated functions. I hope that changes, considering where this country is in 2026. It will probably take at least 100 years to filter and move through a lot of what's going on, or longer. Who knows what the lifespan of redundancy really is. I will say that this channel is a bit closer to my heart, at least right now, than my other channel. I guess in a sense, they're Siamese twins, so I don't really have a favorite, but I am keeping them distinctly, one being presenting the artwork and the technical side of things and storylines and things like this. Just in the sense of paradigm choices for people, and experimenting, also mixing political analysis and psychology and psychoanalysis with presenting my artwork. And I like modeling this because I feel like a lot of people are afraid of politics and are afraid of talking about them or being triggered, or I'm not altogether sure why the apathy exists around not getting involved in understanding, at least. But ultimately, America is about dreaming, living the dream. So maybe that's simply what's most appropriate for others, and fair enough. We all go through different stages in life, and I've been there, and recently, over the last 3.5 years, been thoroughly disenchanted, additionally disenchanted, let's say. Not that I was 100% enchanted and then suddenly wasn't. but things are per usual getting worse before they can get better. But as far as America goes, it seems to be more of a inhale and exhale thing where things get really bad, then they get better, and then they get really bad again. They don't stay better. So ebbs and tides, and or ebbs and flows. Back to the comments that I read around Palestine and wanting a specific kind of gallery or representation out there in the world, because my art, it's very personal. I don't do it for money or fame or a client or a gallery. I do it for myself, and so where the art goes is important to me, and it's become even more important to me since October 8th. In understanding more about people and ulterior motives and the apathy of the world around the ethnic cleansing of Gaza and the West Bank and now Lebanon, and in some regards the wanton ethnic cleansing of Iranians from ancient Persia, aka Iran. So this disease, this mental illness, is ancestral. It goes all the way back to England and the British, ultimately. I haven't taken a deep dive into where it roams pre-Britain or pre-England. It's definitely a kind of Anglo-Saxon I mean, since the Germans identified with it, and anyone of light skin color I can and has identified with fascism and racism, I figure that it's not so much around a particular culture or country. It's more around a populace, the effect of numbers. So whatever country is, quote, white and has more people, their effect upon others of a different genetic disposition or fact is multiplied by of course their numbers. And so we're dealing with a primordial tribal mental illness, like something primal, animalistic, let's say. So deeply rooted, and it's May 2026 here in the United States, and there's a, a large portion of southern states that are redistricting in order to absorb districts that were once majority Black African American districts, so that they are not considered part of the Democratic vote versus Republicans. And the MAGA, make Anglo Gestapo again, they're heading this. It's highly illegal, highly racist, and they're lying all the way through it. And this could be, well, I'm quite certain that MAGA and AIPAC are involved in this, because it's just rings of Israel and their psychology, hardlined fascism, and things may ramp up in 2028. Things are already ramping up, but I feel like the human versus race species, it really is like a species war, but something more ephemeral or paranormal in a way, because there are people who identify with their bodies and get an ego around their ancestry, skin color, wealth, status, class status, coat of arms, all this stuff. And then there are humans that their morals and ethics and principles and values are out in front of all that stuff, gauging, watching, critiquing, and by those morals and ethics, those are its priorities. Those are its point men. So, and being human, humane, moral, ethical is priority, versus almost a kind of sociopathy where there is no conscience. It's pure self-concern, pure self-image, and greed. And not just monetarily speaking greed, but greed of self-accountability. Greed of having no self-reflection or care, let's say. So collecting a lot of nothing, let's say. Hoarding emptiness. Hoarding complacency. And hoarding crime and punishment and injustice. So back to these comments I was reading on one of my shorts that I did. Someone said something like, "This is sad," and another person mentioned that the channel was very small and that I was pushing people away, stating my pro-Palestinian remark around I would like to work with a pro-Palestinian gallery who is not afraid to be an individual and state where they stand with issues and not have this sort of pretense of neutrality and carelessness around their principles. And that's just me. That's a personal preference. I want to be intentional about who I work with and who represents my investments. So maybe that's neurotic, hypersensitive, but too bad. That's just, that's the way it's going to be. And people are going to criticize you, whoever you are, whether you have principles or not. Criticism is a need. People need to point at others to keep their hands away from themselves. Things get spooky when people start to feel self-accountability. They are their own haunted house. So I just want to put it out there to new channels, and this is a very new channel. It's not even 2 months old. Just do it for yourself. Let it be a catharsis. Let it be a discipline. Let it be an exercise, a ritual, if you want to call it that, or a rite, or an offering, a kind of something to carry around in your thoughts during the day. And then how that feels to you while you're carrying it around in your thoughts. How does it feel? Does it give you company? Does it help? And I feel like thoughts and feelings, deeds, and the echoes from those deeds, how they sit in you, how you carry them during the day, and what they do with and to you is proof of concept. So if you're worrying about disappointing people and you're worried about trying to figure out what will get you the most likes and what's going to satisfy people, you won't make it. Not that I'm speaking from a veteran point of view, but I'm just saying from someone who's, let's say, been in the arts his whole life. So I do have a discipline, and also writing. It's a discipline, so I can refer to other disciplines and still state the same thing, that if you're a people pleaser, you might last a year, but substance-wise, you won't. You can only please but so many people. And it's like, if you eat your favorite food too much, it becomes its opposite. So moderation. And the same thing with people pleasing. It will be a novel idea for a little while, and then it will fade away. And then there you are, right back where you were, but with a new lesson, with a new experience at your side. So, and if that's your choice, if that's your um, focus or let's say obsession, go for it. Okay, that's everyone has to wrestle with an antagonist of some kind to learn and gain wisdom. No wise person was never not an idiot. So, and idiocy is not necessarily negative. It just simply not knowing and lack of experience. But culture tends to exaggerate semantics and turn words into weapons, slanting them more towards the negative than just being the definition that they have. So, I mean, in many ways, idiocy can be a useful thing. You go into something knowing you don't know with an open mind. That's very different than going into something thinking you know with a closed mind. So, again, to reiterate, do it for yourself first, and then just see what happens. See how it organically evolves, and what the echoes of those deeds, what it brings you during the day, how it changes your quality of life. And don't worry about people who think that they know what is best for you, or feeling sorry for you. You've triggered something in them, and ultimately no one can feel for you. They can feel with you, but not for you. And you can be sure, unless they're in your presence, that someone online feeling for you is feeling for themselves, calling it you. So that's pretty much it for tonight. I wanted to put that out there and do a video tonight before the sun comes up. So thank you for stopping by the channel. Like and subscribe, please. Feel free to leave a comment. And for a longer description of the talisman against, well, let's say, the talisman for the protection against gossip of the dead. There it is. For a longer description, I'll put a link in the description box down below. And wish you a great weekend ahead. Thank you for supporting the channel. Good night and good morning.